of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet
Once again, big round of applause for Bella Porter. Fans, let's stay standing and let's get a little stretch. It's time for taking us to the ball game. Presented by
Good morning, everybody. Welcome on your TVs in Texas and Louisiana. You are watching on the Smart Money Culture TV network, as well as joining around the world on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all the rest. It's always good to see you guys. It is another Monday here. That was my oldest daughter there singing God Bless America at the baseball game Saturday night. A lot of fun. She really killed it. She did such a great job. I'm so proud of her. She really went out there and belted it out. You know, there's times like that. I always tell people there's times like that in life that you need those experiences to know that when you get in other situations, like how you're gonna react under pressure, how it's gonna be. And she really did it there. That's pretty awesome. So exciting show we have ahead today. There is a lot going on. As you know, of course, Trump and Harris are going to debate tomorrow. So that is pretty interesting. Of course, we have never in all our time seen a candidate be changed out in real time like this. You know, where they start with one candidate and then they end up with another candidate, which is what the Democrats done. So pretty interesting. So we had Trump, of course, debate Joe Biden, and now he's going to debate Harris. Pretty crazy. Yeah. So that is that's that, right? Let's see here. I'm just sharing this. LinkedIn's funny, man. They won't let me share my Twitter live link on there. I don't know, man. Somebody over there, they don't like me. Somebody likes me too. Of course, I was able to get my accounts back, but that was you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful over there. So they won't let me share my live link. So I go over and I try to drop my X live link because I'm scared to go live over there because I don't know, they don't like the content or something. So anyway, but I have to share like a Rumble link or something else. I'm able to share past posts, so they must know that it's a live feed. I don't know. Pretty interesting. Anyway, of course, we are live on all of the other. Jeez. All right, I know you guys can hear me. Let me just re-enter here. We're live on all the other platforms. I am re-entering the studio, so I will have my camera back. Okay, here we go. Boom. Hello. So there I was, surrounded. Anyway, um, let's see here. We have free speech in space, the quest for government efficiency. So Elon is full bore on this. It is pretty interesting that he has really just gone full into this. Um, he's full in for Trump. He's given his total and complete endorsement, of course, of Trump. He has now gone on to just really repeatedly talk about Second Amendment, which of course Harris has come out very decidedly, talking about gun confiscation and this, that, and the other. I mean, these guys, they are not mincing words. They are not mincing words. They are just really going for it, um, which is very much that's scary because if they take the right to bear arms, then there's really no question in anybody's mind that the right to free speech is right behind it. So they've already really tried to take the right to free speech. You're not allowed to say much, even on X. Better not say the wrong thing. If you say the wrong thing, you're in trouble. It's true. It's true. Um, so anyway, let me just make sure. Okay, all right, my feed's working. So with him going full force into this, it's just something. It's something that we have not seen before, and it shows you how much he really thinks that we're going to be in trouble. And here's a guy. He's taking us to Mars. He's going to make an interplanetary species, which is very important for the survival of our consciousness, for human consciousness. It's also going to make all kinds of breakthroughs, all kinds of breakthroughs, longevity in human life, everything. I mean, I talk about it all the time, but we're going to start living a long time, a very, very long time, like we probably used to. The Bible isn't the only book that says we were living a long time. There are also old books from other parts of the world that also people were living a long time, and so we'll probably start living a long time again, which will be great. Um, gun confiscation a real threat with Harris. The Constitution trash. Will free speech end if the arms are taken? If the right to bear arms is taken. So I wanted to pull up this clip with Harris. Harris on gun. Just see if it pulls up fairly easy here. Oh, So yeah, here we go. She talks about having a gun being a privilege, and actually, Kamala, having a gun is not a privilege. You serving in government is a privilege, but us having guns is a right.
His privileges and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop. His privileges and it should be taken down.
So I might play that clip again because it's a very important clip. The right to bear arms is enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. If you don't have the right to bear arms, I mean, we're slaves right now. We're debt slaves. But if we don't have the right to bear arms, then that's it, guys. That's it. And they have encroached on their right to bear arms. And people have let them. You got to register, you got to do this, you got to do that. You can't buy one without them knowing it, kind of. I mean, there's some ways around that. But they've encroached on it a lot. And if they continue to do that, when we're at a point, you look at what's going on in the world, and anybody with some brain cells, and that's why, I mean, I go around here, and I mean, nice people, and they got the Harris Wall signs up in front, and man, I'll tell you what, I just wonder what in the world is wrong with this. Like, how can you? I mean, even if you don't like Trump, how in the world can you vote for gun confiscation and the end of free speech? I mean, you're talking about completely overthrow of the Constitution. The First and the Second Amendment of the Constitution are the right to free speech and the right to bear arms. A lot of people don't like Trump, but we have two people in the race right now. You got Harris and you got Trump. Harris is going to take guns and take the free speech. So let's listen to what she said again, because this is it's 30 to 30 seconds, but it is very profound.
His privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom.
It's a privilege, she says. Having a gun is a privilege. I wish I had this whole clip, but I don't right now.
His privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power.
Then she goes on to talk about social media, and I want a longer clip here. Let me just see if I can find a longer clip because I don't want to misrepresent. Let's see here. Well, this is pretty darning right here. Listen to this.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got
a mandatory gun buyback program. Mandatory gun buyback program. Confiscation. Gun confiscation. We're not going to get where we need to be without action, he says. I'm going to play that again.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago, we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act.
Kamala Harris, let's see here. Here we go.
Will finally pass red flag laws, universal background checks, and an assault weapons ban.
See, the thing about these communists is that they always want to take your guns, but keep them themselves. Never fail. They will keep all the guns around them, and you won't have any. You think you're a slave now? You think you don't have rights now? Just wait until you don't have any guns. And that's why Elon Musk is out so strongly against against Harris and this presidency. Now they're going to cheat like God only knows what. And they have all these people that have come here. Venezuela has emptied out its prisons. You can imagine, man, there's some bad hombres in the Venezuela prison, right? I mean, there's some bad dudes, right? Yeah, well, they're here now, roaming around. So they say. That's the word on the street. And wouldn't you empty out your prison if you were him? I would. The guy who was running against Maduro has fled and gone to Spain. Secretary Blinken was out on his whining about it this morning, or last night. It's not this morning. They're not going to be whining about the U.S. election unless they're going to lose. Unless they lose, they might. They might. The best move that they have right now is letting Trump win and then making sure that he doesn't do anything that is really that great for you and me. That's the best move they have. And I've actually been saying that that was the move for a long time. I've kind of pivoted on that a little bit because I think that they love power so much that it's hard to just give it up like that. And really, what are you going to do about it? You won't even come. You're scared to even come to Washington D.C. and protest. There's 100 people in jail from January 6th, and nobody's done anything about it. Let's talk the markets. We've had a nice bounce here. We got the great Matt Dixon. Sir Matt, how are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm good, thank you. Back in Dubai, sunny Dubai.
Nice to see you there. How is it?
Yes, it's still hot, very hot.
I was wondering that this morning. I was like, I wonder if it's still like really hot.
Yeah, it's still 40 degrees around there, so quite hot. 40,
Oh yeah,
40.
100 and something Fahrenheit.
Yeah, plenty. Yeah, but it's good to be back. Get back to in the swing of things. So I was looking for, we have October, we have November. I was looking for what could be September, maybe Supertember. Doesn't quite doesn't quite line up, but I think it's going to end up being a Super September. So why not?
Why not?
I'll just share my screen. We said things are looking to pick up anytime soon. And I actually went out on X on Friday and Saturday, I think it was, saying that I'm actually taking this opportunity. I'm telling people all along, DCA, buy the dips, all that kind of stuff. So I went out publicly and said, I am buying the dips. So I put my neck on the line there. And that's what I did. So we'll just run through. I know you've had a packed show today, so we'll run through very quickly a quick roundup at the start of the week to see where we're at. So no particular order. They're all exciting, but we'll look at Litecoin here. We've got apparently some kind of ABC down from the top. And that, as we all know by now, ABC is a corrective move, meaning that the impulsive direction is to the upside and should take us way up above this previous local high here of 113. So I think we should go way beyond that. Now, we're never quite sure whether this correction is absolutely complete. It could even dip a bit lower. We don't know. But we do know, or it's very clear to me, it's a corrective kind of move. All this overlap, for example, these moves up here overlapped this A wave move down here. So it can't be a 1, 2, 3. It's got to be a corrective move. And we had various divergences along the way, giving us the direction both down and up. So we had one here, which was a hidden bearish divergence with the arrow. So precisely again on the button, told us when to sell, and the price went down sharply. There are other divergences along the way. I won't go into them all, but we'll look at a couple of others. I mean, even back here, there's a big divergence here, big regular bearish divergence right at this point here, telling us when to sell. And again, the market moved down. So these divergences are very accurate. So I like to spend a bit of time just pointing out these divergences. They don't often occur, and when they do occur, they're quite predictive. So that's Litecoin, as I say, looking bullish. I think we've probably had some sort of impulsive move up here. The important thing is from this little point here, if you can see where I'm at, we've actually had 3 waves down from there. Again, that is telling us that the impulsive direction is to the upside and the corrective direction is to the downside. And it looks like a 335 correction maybe before we then get some more upside. So again, whether that's quite complete, whether it's got a touch lower to go, I don't know. But the main direction is looking to be higher. So that's a bit of a summary for Litecoin. We'll jump into XRP briefly. Once again, nice impulsive moves from the low point here. We've got labeled as C. Very nice impulsive move there with no overlap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the 3 could even be here and 4, 5. Something like that. Anyway, it's impulsive higher. It's corrective down with all the overlap. So the down move here is massively overlapped by the move up here. We've bounced off very nicely from where we signaled that things were looking good. And I know there was some divergence in place. In fact, I can even see it here, actually. Divergence in place, telling us of a likely turnaround from this point. So that was really good on XRP. Let's jump over to Solana. So Solana, one of my favorites, one that I did jump into on Friday. And we've got some, again, we had really nice regular bullish divergence, very, very clear on a different time frame than this, in fact, probably on the 4 hour, I guess. But there was nice divergence. Let's just jump back to the 4 hour in a moment. I mean, here,
what are we at right now on Solana?
Sorry?
And what are we at right now on Solana?
Well, right now the price is 130.33, and we have some regular bullish divergence, which is telling us that the price is likely to go higher. So I actually jumped in at 127. It's now over 130. So I can now protect my position. So if it goes down further, I'm okay, I'm protected. What was interesting was we actually measured the A wave down, transposed the B, and the C wave went to exactly 0.618 times the A wave, which again is the perfect golden ratio for that C wave. The C waves can be, they're often their equality, so equals the A wave. Often they're 0.618 and sometimes they're 1.618. So this just shows the variability of corrections. But when you see a nice 0.618 like this golden ratio extension, it's really, really nice. And when you combine it together with some nice regular bullish divergence, I'll just jump onto the 4 hour to show you where that was. Yeah, I can see here. I'll just draw it in on the RSI below so you can see. So we've got, yeah, I've seen better instances, but it's not bad. No, that's not it. It's a bit further back. Yeah, isn't, I mean, it is definitely, there's definitely regular bullish divergence there. So we've got lower lows on the price and we've got higher lows on the corresponding RSI. So divergence in place. We can see on the 4 hour, it's not very convincing to the upside. I mean, I did jump in at 127, which is, you know, somewhere around this sort of level. I can protect it now, and I probably will do. But I think, again, a bit like the others we looked at Litecoin, we looked at XRP. I think Solana has been very much of a corrective move on the way down, some kind of in the red, A down, B up, and C down here. And I think we moved up impulsively. This looks like an impulse, looks like a powerful move to the upside. If you break it down, shorter time frame, there's 5 waves, and we've got a very nice 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and this could be 3 waves down, or it could even be, you could maybe find 5 waves in there. It doesn't matter if it's 3 waves down, it's what's called a WXY correction. And if it were 5 waves, then it's just a normal flat correction with a 3, 3, 5 flat correction. Either way, they're both corrections, meaning they're both against the trend, meaning that we should move higher above, certainly above this local high. And if we scroll back out a bit further, above this local high at 209, because this overall is a big corrective move, a big A, a B, and a C. So we should move above the previous local high here, which was the beginning of the A wave, and that was at 209, $209 on Solana. So a long, long way to go there, about 50% higher than where we are now. So I think September, or maybe it's in October, who knows? We've obviously got the Fed rate decision coming very soon now on the 18th of September. So do expect, whether it's now, I mean, people are anticipating a rate cut. Yellen came out saying we're likely to get a rate cut. I think everybody's expecting a rate cut. We got some mixed employment figures out on Friday, which turned the market, market sold off a little bit, but it's actually recovering quite nicely now. So we're back above 55,000 for Bitcoin. So if we jump over to Bitcoin, we can see here, Bitcoin's looking really nice here. I mean, look at this for divergence, amazing. So we got this massive down we had, so much lower lows on Bitcoin, but we actually got higher lows on corresponding RSI. So absolutely aligning. So this is telling us of basically regular bullish divergence, telling us of a reversal higher, and it's exactly what's happened again. So these signals are really accurate. I love to use them in combination with other things, of course, before I make a final trade decision. But this looks really promising. Again, following that wave 4 all the way down here, which was actually a corrective ABC wave 4. I think we've had 5 waves up of some sort, and I think this is just a correction down. So I'm really quite encouraged. And I said on Friday, I'm really bullish. Most of crypto at the moment. Ethereum's also looking good at the moment. Back to the daily just to see that divergence properly in play. So again, we can see Ethereum has come down a long way, especially considering we had that nice ETF decision. So we now have the Ethereum ETF as well as the Bitcoin ETF. But we can see here there were lots of signals, again, divergences on the way down at various places. But we've actually had a regular bullish divergence coming right at the bottom here. And it signaled the turnaround, which is exactly what's happened. So again, I was saying Ethereum on Friday, I was saying it's a great one to jump into. I think it's about 2,100 on Friday, I think. So it's now 2,300 odd. So it's up sort of 10%-ish since that time. But it was signaled by this regular bullish divergence where we got lower lows on price and we got higher lows on corresponding RSI. So a very, very nice signal there, telling us of some upside. Now we have got some barriers to break through. So this dotted line here represents the resistance, which for a time was acting as support. So we tested it, failed, and price went up. We tested it, failed, and price went up. Tested it, price went up. Then eventually we broke it. And this is what often happens. When you have a support or a resistance, often price will attempt to break through a number of times. And if it keeps trying and keeps trying, eventually it usually breaks through. And that's precisely what happened here. We got the breakthrough, and we broke through what was support. And then once you break through it, it then becomes resistance. So it turns around and it's resistance then to breaking higher. So again, you can see we tested it to the upside. So we can see downside test here, here, and then we broke it here. Now we've tested on the upside, and we need to break through that. But if we do break through, it really opens the floodgates to much higher prices. As I say, certainly above the local high of just over 4,000, we'll head towards the previous all-time high. I think it was around 4,008. So this is clearly, once again, a very corrective move to the downside. We've got the divergence, we've got the Elliott wave, we've got 3 good little indicators there, and we've got some candlestick formations. So we've got probably 4 indicators now, all aligning. I think it's good to be in, good time to be in. And as I say, I still only ever dollar cost average, putting small positions in, buying the lows, don't put everything in one go. It could theoretically still go lower, but I just think overall it's looking really tempting. And it was, for me, an opportunity to jump in Friday as I did, and there's probably still great opportunity ahead. Probably running out of time, but I would like to just touch on gold and oil and maybe DXY. So interestingly, gold, we said it was in some sort of consolidation pattern, waiting for a break higher. So that was whilst we were down here, and I said we're probably in a consolidation pattern here. I'll just open it out a little bit. Maybe I'll put it on the 4 hours so you can see it more clearly. So this is quite interesting and nice. When you see consolidations, it's just amazing how they do stick to within trend lines. So we've got some kind of parallel consolidation here where we've got the A, B, C, D, possibly an E wave down here. If that's the case, then it's a nice wave 4 triangle, and we should then get the thrust higher out of it. So let's just see if we do hit the bottom. If we do get somewhere around there, it would be a good risk reward. Bear in mind, though, that the E wave, if it is a triangle, the E wave can break the bottom. It can actually fall short or overshoot, not by a big margin, maybe 10%, something like that, but it can overshoot. So if you're putting stop losses, just be very careful and bear in mind that there could be an overshoot, and you don't want to just have your stop loss hit and get stopped out. So it means
we've done that plenty. We've all done that. You know, goes down, hits the stop loss, and then goes where you know it's going to go.
Yeah, but it's good to know the wave that you're in, to know whether it's likely and possible for there to be an overshoot, and particularly with a triangle formation, it's a regular occurrence to overshoot or undershoot. And the problem is, if it undershoots, a lot of people are actually waiting to position, waiting for it to hit to the low point here, and they miss out because it didn't jump in. That's why, again, DCAing is really important. Never go for the exact end point of where you think a price is going to go to, because the market makers can see it. They'll probably just spike, have the price fall short of it, so you don't get positioned before the price moves up. Alternatively, if you made positioned early and it'll overshoot and stop you out again. So they know what your positions are. So just be aware they know, and then try to position accordingly. It usually means positioning a slightly smaller position size with a slightly wider stop loss. It means you make less profit at the end of the day, but profit is better than, profit is what you want. First of all, most important rule, don't lose money. Next thing is take a profit and don't be too greedy. So again, fear and greed come into it really importantly. So gold is looking bullish. I think that's a wave 3 to the upside there. This is a correction, all the overlap, it's typical correction territory, and then we should get a push higher to brand new all-time highs coming for gold, I think, in the near future. Oil is an interesting one. Often it's correlated with gold, certainly not in this case. And I think that's because there are some headwinds for the economy now, with some issues with unemployment. The economy is beginning to slow a little bit. But in some ways, it's a good sign to see the oil price coming down. As I said, it does mean that the cost of energy is that much cheaper for not only business, but retail, transport, everything. So it's really good that prices of fuel come down for us. It means that there's less inflationary pressure. Businesses don't need to hike prices, because if they're making money effectively with cheaper energy, then they're winning on that side. So the fact that we've got cheaper energy filtering through is probably a good thing, and it gives the Fed more room for maneuver. That if inflation comes down a bit, they do have room to maneuver to lower interest rates a little bit and try to keep that economy bubbling away. It's been quite robust so far. It's beginning to show some signs of slowing, but they will need to lower interest rates, I think, just to try and keep it, try and target that soft landing that they're obviously hoping for. And then DXY again, we can see DXY. We talk about, again, if I go back to daily, we talk about these resistance levels are quite important. And again, we tested that resistance on 3 or 4 occasions here, and it failed so far. But I do suspect it is going to break at some point. Just jump back to the 4-hour on a shorter time frame. I think that we're probably, some kind of 3 waves up, 3 waves down, maybe 5 waves up, and that's what's called a flat correction. So it will be a correction, and then I think we're going to then head to the downside. So I think maybe we had just a little bit higher on DXY, maybe still a little bit of pressure on risk assets, maybe short term. But I think this is a correction, a 3-3-5 correction it's going to be probably. If that's the case, then we then expect the impulse to reassert itself to the downside and actually break this reasonably long held support, break it to the downside. And a weaker dollar should help risk assets. People don't want to hold money in treasuries so much. They want to put it into risk assets, which are going as they want. And so they will put it into likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum, stocks, etc. So that's why I think we're going to be seeing weaker dollar, especially with the US reducing interest rates most likely on the 18th. Then there's much less reason to hold your money in treasuries, which would, and in deposits, fixed deposits that pay you, or deposits of any sort that pay you an interest. If that interest is lower, there's less reason to hold it there, more reason to put it into those risk assets. So I am still really bullish. I'm not saying there won't be any, bit of choppiness, and we're still a few days away from the 18th of September. So, but not long now, just over a week, and we should have some clarity there. So whilst we await that week, maybe there will be a bit more choppiness, but I think it's good time to be DCAing, positioning, just getting your position before the markets hopefully take off. But again, don't over position, because nobody ever knows for certain. There could be a surprise event, geopolitical, macroeconomic, who knows. But trading is fun as long as you don't take too much risk and you trade with discipline. You can make profits and make it enjoyable.
Well, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of different articles coming out too, about the Fed rate and too much and too little and all this stuff. I think in the end, obviously, we're in for a rate cut. I think that's pretty nailed in, but you never know.
Yeah, and then I'll probably just finish on this one, RLB. I mentioned it the other day. It's the actual standout performer again today, up 7% today. So you can't say I didn't tell you in advance. I've been telling people right from the very bottom price down here at 4 cents. I've been mentioning it a few times, and it's really it's outperformed the rest of the market. It's been a phenomenal one. So hopefully some of you listened to that and took advantage. So we will give you some gems now and then, which can really make some amazing returns. So, I mean, you're looking from the low point here, which was August. So we're talking just over about a month ago, you doubled your money in 1 month. And that's, if you listen to this show, listen to us giving you some of those gems. Again, Toncoin, just probably finish up with Toncoin actually. Amazing Toncoin. We've been giving you that one over and over again. We told you here that there's some regular bullish divergence. And just look what's happened to price. It was 4.5, it's now 5.07. So it's rocketed quite nicely, exactly according to our expectations. So again, I really think there's some values to be had, that we're giving you some powerful information that can enable you to make better trading decisions. So hope it's been helpful. Hope it's been good for you, Bruce, and look forward to catching up tomorrow.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Welcome back to Dubai. Can't wait to get over there sometime soon and see you again.
Been a pleasure. Thanks, Bruce. All the best, everybody. Bye for now.
Cheers. Dubai, one of my favorite places in the world. I really love Dubai. I love the kingdom of Dubai. It's such a great place. It's just wonderful people. You know what? One of the things I really like about Dubai is it's just such a great place for business. You go down to Miami and everybody's like, drinking and this and that and the other. And I mean, it's like, and you look at these people and you're like, am I really supposed to do business with you? Are we really supposed to talk business like this? I mean, I'm not in my 20s anymore, guys. I mean, come on. And then you go to Dubai and everybody's so sharp and they're there to do business. And I like it. I like it a lot. If you did, I just wanted to put that out there real quick. So I love Dubai. Dubai is absolutely great. So we have there's a lot going on, of course, with this debate that we have going on with this election, with Trump, with our move to end the Fed. Now, pretty interesting. Trump has come out with some interesting statements about the dollar lately. Of course, in the early days or over the last few months, he has really been courting the crypto crowd. And then lately, of course, he has really made some big saying, "Oh, we're gonna make the U.S. dollar stronger, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that." Now, I actually said from the beginning that what Trump said, he says it himself. What I say is what I say, right? So doesn't mean if he says it today that he's going to do it tomorrow. That's the way he is. He can have some new information or whatever, and then there you go, and you got something new. That's one of the reasons why the deep state guys, even though they like him a bit because he's so powerful, they don't like him because he's eminently not controllable. He's always thinking, and he's making decisions. And so that's Trump. But it's pretty interesting because, of course, the U.S. dollar is the way that they've enslaved everybody. I mean, this is it. I mean, this is how they did it. They went back and I can tell you, with the central bank. What is the central bank? Let me see here. I have it right here. I've played this a number of times. What is the central bank? And it's worth playing again because people forget, and they get new people, of course, that haven't seen it before. So here we go. What is a central bank? Let me see here. Is this the right tab? Yes. No. Hold on a second here. The central bank in the U.S., we can take control back of the U.S. dollar, which is what we should do. Take the power to mint the money back. That's what we need to do. And then we'll have control. But to just prop up the U.S. dollar again while it's in control of the cartel, it's not going to do any good for us. But here's a little bit of history on how the central bank took over the United States. I'll just add this to this. Let me take it down. How the central bank took over the United States and how the only thing the central bank and this fiat money with them in control, the central banking cartel, can produce is slavery, is debt. That's it. It's a short video, but it's very important. Sometimes it's better if you get to hear it from somebody else other than me.
So what is a central bank? A central bank is an institution that produces the currency of an entire nation. Based on historical precedent, two specific powers are inherent in central banking practice: the control of interest rates and the control of the money supply, or inflation. The central bank does not simply supply a government's economy with money, it loans it to them at interest. Then, through the use of increasing and decreasing the supply of money, the central bank regulates the value of the currency being issued. It is critical to understand that the entire structure of this system can only produce one thing in the long run: debt. It doesn't take a lot of ingenuity to figure this scam out. For every single dollar produced by the central bank is loaned at interest. That means every single dollar produced is actually the dollar plus a certain percent of debt based on that dollar. And since the central bank has the monopoly over the production of the currency for the entire country, and they loan each dollar out with immediate debt attached to it, where does the money to pay for the debt come from? It can only come from the central bank again, which means the central bank has to perpetually increase its money supply to temporarily cover the outstanding debt created, which in turn, since that new money is loaned out at interest as well, creates even more debt. The end result of this system without fail is slavery, for it is impossible for the government and thus the public to ever come out of the self-generating debt. At this time, the dominant families in the banking and business world were the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Warburgs, the Rothschilds. And in the early 1900s, they sought to push once again legislation to create another central bank. However, they knew the government and public were very weary of such an institution, so they needed to create an incident to affect public opinion. So, J.P. Morgan, publicly considered a financial luminary at the time, exploited his mass influence by publishing rumors that a prominent bank in New York was insolvent or bankrupt. Morgan knew this would cause mass hysteria, which would affect other banks as well. And it did. The public, in fear of losing their deposits, immediately began mass withdrawals. Consequently, the banks were forced to call in their loans, causing the recipients to sell their property, and thus a spiral of bankruptcies, repossessions, and turmoil emerged. Putting the pieces together a few years later, Frederick Allen of Life magazine wrote, "The Morgan interests took advantage to precipitate the panic, guiding it shrewdly as it progressed." Unaware of the fraud, the Panic of 1907 led to a congressional investigation headed by Senator Nelson Aldrich, who had intimate ties to the banking cartels and later became part of the Rockefeller family through marriage. The commission, led by Aldrich, recommended a central bank should be implemented so a panic like 1907 could never happen again. And in 1913, with heavy political sponsorship by the bankers, Woodrow Wilson became president, having already agreed to sign the Federal Reserve Act in exchange for campaign support. And 2 days before Christmas, when most of Congress was at home with their families, the Federal Reserve Act was voted in, and Wilson in turn made it law. A world banking system was being set up here, a superstate controlled by international bankers, acting together to enslave the world for their own pleasure. The Fed has usurped the government. Now, the public was told that the Federal Reserve System was an economic stabilizer, and inflation and economic crises were a thing of the past. Well, as history has shown, nothing is further from the truth. The fact is, the international bankers now had a streamlined machine to expand their personal ambitions. For example, from 1914 to 1919, the Fed increased the money supply by nearly 100%, resulting in extensive loans to small banks and the public. Then, in 1920, the Fed called in mass percentages of the outstanding money supply, thus resulting in the supporting banks having to call in huge numbers of loans, and just like 1907, bank runs, bankruptcy, and collapse occurred. Over 5,400 competitive banks outside of the Federal Reserve System collapsed, further consolidating the monopoly of a small group of international bankers. Privy to this crime, Congressman Lindbergh stepped up and said in 1921, "Under the Federal Reserve Act, panics are scientifically created. The present panic is the first scientifically created one, worked out as we figure a mathematical equation." However, the panic of 1920 was just a warm-up. From 1921 to 1929, the Fed again increased the money supply, resulting once again in extensive loans to the public and banks. There was also a fairly new type of loan called a margin loan in the stock market. Very simply, the margin loan allowed an investor to put down only 10% of a stock's price, with the other 90% being loaned through the broker. In other words, a person could own $1,000 worth of stock with only $100 down. However, there was a catch to this loan. It could be called in at any time and had to be paid within 24 hours. This is termed a margin call, and the typical result of a margin call is the selling of the stock purchased with the loan. So, a few months before October in 1929, J.D. Rockefeller, Bernard Baruch, and other insiders quietly exited the market. And on October 24th, 1929, the New York financiers who furnished the margin loans started calling them in masse. This sparked an instantaneous, massive sell-off in the market, for everyone had to cover the margin loans. It then triggered mass bank runs for the same reason, in turn collapsing over 16,000 banks, enabling the conspiring international bankers to not only buy up rival banks at a discount, but to also buy up whole corporations at pennies on the dollar. It was the greatest robbery in American history. But that didn't stop there. Rather than expanding the money supply in order to recover from this economic collapse, the Fed actually contracted it, fueling one of the largest depressions in history.
Crazy. Like, this is, and the fact is that you probably, unless you watch this show, you didn't even know. Fleecing everyone. Yeah, and that's like, these guys are still in charge. And actually, if you look at even the assassination of John F. Kennedy, it's got their fingerprints all over it. The John F. Kennedy, of course, wanted to have AZC, the American Zionist Council, register as foreign agents. He actually made them, and they rebranded as AIPAC. And of course, you have my friend, this guy over here saying everybody has an AIPAC person. So they just AIPAC was a subsidy. They came back as AIPAC, and they're still doing the same thing. So we have foreign influence through everything. We have the central bank, which is all the same people, still in charge. AZC, AIPAC, central banking cartel, all the same people. It's crazy, guys. And that's who is in control of the country. And that's why we can't even have a good election, a real election. And why you see everybody cozying up. I mean, at the first round, Trump didn't take any money from anybody, right? No, I'm going to do it on my own. Of course, that changed very quickly. Now he's taking hundreds of millions of dollars from people. I think he's doing what he's got to do. It's long and short of it. Now, is it some 4D chess that he's going to come around and change things? I don't know, guys. I wouldn't hold my breath. It's possible. They all say, all the Q stuff. I'm not a Q guy at all. I think Q is a CIA op. Pretty much 100%. I think that. But all the Q stuff says we saved Israel for last. So all right, we'll see. I will say that Trump did come out. He was the only one. And this is another reason why I think they have a love-hate relationship with him, because he comes out and says what he thinks. He has a meeting with Netanyahu, and he comes back and he says, "I don't think he wants a two-state solution. I don't think he wants it." Now he's over there. He did the Abrams Accords. He did more for Israel than any president ever, probably, besides what's his face, Truman, who pushed through the state after World War II. The state we have now is not the state from the Bible, guys. Different state. This state was started by the Rothschild bankers. The Rothschild bankers are the ones that are running the United States, and the rest of everybody shutting down free speech, trying to shut down your right there. Yeah, those guys. They're the ones that's going to keep talking. Europe, everybody in Europe has made themselves. Now they're going to come through with different things where you have to register and everything now to travel to Europe. They're making themselves very unattractive for people to travel to Europe. With the arrest of Pavel Durov, that was a shot across the bow to all people. That was definitely a big warning shot across the bow. But the central banking cartel is in control of Europe. I talked about it, and that's probably worth playing as well. I talked about this. Let's see here. I'll pull it right up here. It's another short clip. You may have seen it before if you watched the show. If you're new, you haven't seen it before. Europe. How the central banking cartel conquered Europe without a shot. I'm sure there probably was some shots. Let me put this right here. This is worth listening to, and this is how it happened. Let me just pop this back on my screen here. I was in France at the time, in Paris, for reporting on a conference. So I'm back in Paris, here to cover Paris Blockchain Week. Very important event here. Everybody pretty much is going to be here. I am at the museum, the Louvre Museum, or Museum des Louvre, as they call it here in France. One of the things I've been talking about over all these years that we have been friends and I've been broadcasting is the monetary revolution and how important it is. What I wanted to touch on is, of course, I'll cover a lot of things over the next few days. I'll talk to a lot of people and bring you a lot of very interesting projects and technology and everything else. But the underlying message that I always have is the monetary revolution. And it's very interesting. And one of the ways that I understand really so much about the monetary revolution is what I saw happen in Europe. So I was lucky enough to start traveling a few decades ago before the euro was enacted. Before they started doing the euro, I was traveling around Europe, very, very cheap, very wonderful, still very beautiful. I mean, it's unbelievable here. You can just see behind me. It's just absolutely unbelievable. But the central banking cartel was able to conquer all of Europe without firing a shot. Now, how did they do that? How did they pull that off? It was very simple. And understanding this and seeing it happen is really important. It's something I want you guys to understand as well. I know many of you probably do. They did it with the currency. It was very simple. So they said, come on to our currency. Come on to our currency. We'll give you free money. We'll finance the things that you want to finance. Is really the same way as well. The U.S. got on the Federal Reserve System. We were having issues there, and the central bank said, no problem. We'll bail you out. We'll give you all the money that you need. Okay. And then in the dark of night, they passed the Federal Reserve Act, which now we have a privately held central bank. But back to Europe, and what happened here, and what I witnessed happened here, it was the slow boil, like we experience all over the world, right? These people operate in decades and centuries. It's very interesting, really, how how many decades and whatnot that it takes sometimes. I guess though I was fairly quick, but they started, okay, we'll give you free money. We will finance what you want. Just come on to the euro. Come on to the euro system. And this euro, of course, is paper money, right? They can print whatever they want of it. And remember, the central bank doesn't produce anything other than paper money. I mean, obviously they make the monetary policy, interest rates, stuff like this. There's some market making that goes on there, but overall, it's not like they're producing anything really that makes money. It's like the government. The government really doesn't make money. They're not good at making money. So when the central bank says that they're going to pay for stuff, all they're doing is diluting you in order to pay for it. So they'll print up more money. They'll pay for whatever you want. They'll pay for their enormous salaries, as well as everything else that they do. They'll pay for all types of wars and government spending and everything like that. But all they're doing is taking it from you. There's no real value there. And then once that they have the people on the dole, they're able to then put people in power and, of course, influence policy, right? So now you have a situation where everybody's beholden to the central bank. You have pretty much all of Europe on this euro system, and now they have a new government. And what is that new government? Of course, they have a parliament and they have blah, 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 and everything else, but the new government is the central bank. That's who is in charge, and that was how they were able to take over the entirety of Europe, and they did it by stealing the people's money slowly. They stole it slowly, so it wasn't so obvious for everybody. And at first it was so nice, and they had, this and that and the other. But now you go to Europe, it's much more expensive. And they're doing the same thing that we do. They just print up more and more money. And when they print up more and more money, that, of course, dilutes your holdings and makes you worth less. And that's the way it works. It's the biggest scam in the world. They've done it very successfully over almost all of these countries. Russia still doesn't use a central bank. And as well, we have Syria that doesn't use a central bank. Gaddafi tried it. They killed him. But yeah, pretty interesting. And that's how Europe fell without a shot. There is a central government, obviously, now in Europe. You have the European Union. And they are in charge. They're in charge of all of these countries. And the central bank, the European Central Bank, is in charge of them. And that is the same central banking cartels that runs the country in the United States and Brazil and all the other countries of the world. It is a big scam. We have to stop it. We can stop it. It's not going to be easy. But we'll talk about it more on the show tomorrow, on the Impact Money Show. We're going to bring you a lot of great interviews. We're super excited about it here to be at Paris Blockchain Week. Back in Paris, beautiful Paris. I mean, absolutely is just unbelievable place. Paris is so beautiful. See you soon. Paris is so beautiful. Such a beautiful place. And I know my countrymen here in the U.S., they say, oh, no, look, we're soon, we're going to be like Paris soon. You see all the problems they have. Let me tell you what, guys, we're worse off here. You just don't know it. Travel to Italy, travel to France, travel to Romania, travel to these places. Go see how they live. Yes, in certain pockets, you'll have this, that, and the other. But in the U.S., we are way worse off. We were first. Remember, the central banking cartel conquered the United States in 1913 with Woodrow Wilson pushing through the Federal Reserve Act. And then they did this. They confiscated everyone's gold in 1933, on and on and on. In Europe, it's much more of a recent thing. They conquered Europe at the turn of the century. Of course, certain countries were this and that and the other, but they really got the times down. And that's why you don't have free speech across Europe. Because you would have some countries maybe where you had free speech and other countries where you didn't. But Europe totally closed down. Why? Because central banking cartel took over Europe with the euro, and now you have the European Parliament, you have European laws. It was the slow boil, as they do, the slow boil. So we will fix it, but it's going to take some time. I you know, anytime somebody gets power, what do they want? They want that money, right? And they want that. They want to come in and they want to just take the reins and try to, instead of breaking it. That's one of the problems is our opposition likes to break things and then fix them, right? That's what they like to do. They break it and then they build it up. But our side kind of likes to not break things and build it back. They like to just go in and use what's already there. But it doesn't work that way, guys. We need to figure that out. I'm out of here. Love you guys. Always a pleasure. Great show today. Watch the reruns, watch the clips, look on my X, they go down here's, there, and everywhere. Cheers.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.